Gov, the thing spoke, in breathless Cockney, from somewhere near his hip. Chase glowered down. A pair of very blue eyes peered up at him from a filthy boy's face. "I've a message for you." The grubby fist not gripping Chase's coat extended and opened, revealing a square of foolscap that appeared to be folded into 8ths or 16ths. Chase stared at it suspiciously, then tweezed it up between his fingers. It was warm and damp on the outside from the messenger's clutches. He had little hope of finding the inside unsmeared from rain and sweat. He whipped his coat out behind him and shook the thing open in one hand, and then, without turning his head, his hand shot out and snatched the collar of the boy's shirt, just as the urchin tried to dart away. The collar nearly came off in his fingers, so he clamped his hand on a bony shoulder and spun the lad around. "I'll have that back." The boy blinked. "How did—" "I'll have that back," he repeated with even-toned menace. A distracted person might not have felt the nimble fingers nick the button from his coat, which was what the urchin doubtless had been counting on. Chase was seldom truly distracted, regardless of the concerted effort he put into distracting himself. "Just a button," the boy tried. "Just my button." It was an absurd negotiation. He should just cuff the little street rat, as this one had obviously been all but bred for the hulks or gallows. The boy had yet to grow into his ears. They projected horizontally from his very round head. Thanks to dirt, his hair was an indeterminate colour, probably blonde, and his expression was surly, but his robin's egg-blue eyes were frightened and not unintelligent. Rain had made narrow roads in the grime on his cheeks, striping him like a small animal in native camouflage, perhaps offering a foreshadowing of what he might look like behind bars. Bloody London! He'd scarcely arrived, and he was being robbed. Chase blackly, fixedly stared a threat until the dirty fist extended and uncurled again. The urchin stared in nervous wonder at his own hand, as though it had betrayed him. The button winked in the grimy palm. Good brass one, that, worth 4 shillings at the least. Chase took his button. "I would have paid you," he told the messenger thief ominously. "Took your time about it, didn't you?" It was a far less confident squeak this time. He tried to dodge away. Chase, undecided as to whether he wanted to turn this one over to the Charlies, kept his hand clamped on the boy's shoulder as he shook open the seamed message to see if it was indeed a message or just a means of robbing him. It was an odd sensation, having a captive, let alone a small, filthy boy captive. Chase hadn't done anything quite so decisive as prevent someone from doing something in a very long time. He read, "Captain Eversea, meet me at the Montmorency Museum in 1 hour near the Italian pastorals. It's a matter of utmost urgency. P.S. Pastorals means cows and the like." No signature. The Montmorency Museum. Italian pastorals. Worst of all, cows. He stared at the word in rank disbelief. It all but throbbed before his eyes. Cows were the reason he was here in the first place. If only bloody Colin could have stopped talking about cows that night at the Pig and Thistle. He frowned and thought about the Montmorency. Chase had never seen a reason to go beyond Covent Garden into Bloomsbury, so he'd never visited it. If he recalled correctly, it had come about when a wealthy, eccentric, was there any other kind, naturalist had cocked up his toes and left his vast collection of things, sarcophagi, embalmed insects, scrolls, furniture, to a surprised and not entirely grateful British government, which had done a decent job of sorting it all out and then had stuffed it into a centuries-old residence purchased from an aristocrat, that would be Montmorency, who had long ago abandoned it for a more fashionable address. Hardly the ideal setting for an assignation, if that's what this was meant to be. The script was indeed very feminine, but it wasn't one he recognised. Generous loops bloomed atop long, lean letters joined with profligate flourishes, all tilting impatiently forward. It was made by a heavily inked pen. The margin of the paper was jagged. It appeared to have been ripped in haste from a book, the better to imply utmost urgency, he supposed. "Been following you all the way from St. James Square," the urchin volunteered cheerfully, suddenly, as if they were old friends. "You're quick for a gimpy cove." Chase slowly levered his head.